Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Paramerican Radio. And the first thing I notice is something different about Justin. He's taller. No, I'm just kidding. He is wearing headphones. So why is Justin wearing headphones? Justin is wearing headphones because Tinder Steve found a girl on Tinder that he loves, that got married. And he's going to have a couple children, so he's moving out of town. I'm totally fucking with everybody.
He got sucked away to the world of YouTube.
He did. Tinder Steve is working quite a bit in the world of YouTube right now. Wish him the best, but he is off on his own journey right now. And the roads do not intertwine with Paramerican Radio. But what that means is we indeed have somebody who has taken Tinder Steve's place. And her name, which by the way I'd like to point out that we finally have a female point of view on the show now. Her name is Susan Mick. She's one of my best friends. I like to call her It Takes Sue to Make a Thing Go Right. That is my nickname that I gave her on the last tour. Susan is a very interesting girl, which we'll get into. Say hello, Susan.
Hello, Susan.
So Susan, actually, we go way back, right? I initially met you at one of our events, and just became great friends. Susan has a healthy interest in the paranormal. Ended up being actually one of the people that helped us make A Blood Red Sky, which is awesome because that is my favorite movie of all time that we've ever made.
Mine too.
I love it. And what's very interesting, and this is going to relate to the first thing that I'm going to talk about here, is I've always found this fascinating about you. You were a corrections officer. Was this a maximum security prison?
The first facility I worked at was maximum security.
So how in the fuck does a girl wind up? I mean, I'm sorry, I know this sounds totally sexist, but I'm talking, these are like fucking killers that are in these places. How does a girl wind up saying, out of everything I could do in my life, I want to spend my time with the most brutal son of a bitches on planet Earth? How does this happen?
Well, at the time, I was working at a job that didn't really pay that well.
Yeah.
And
money, that's how it happened. Cashola.
I knew a guy who worked in corrections, and
he
told me basically how to test, how to apply, how to interview. It's kind of a process to get hired, but I mean, that's how it happened. It wasn't because I wanted to hang out with, the killer crew.
Did you carry a gun?
I did sometimes, yeah. I was certified with every weapon that I could have been certified with in corrections. So there were several. There are two that you have to get certified with. It's a requirement as a corrections officer to be certified with those, but every extra thing I could get certified on, I did. And so I did armed transports, so I did carry a gun on my hip sometimes when we transported inmates and stuff. But
never popped a cap in anybody's ass.
No, thank God. No.
Well, what's interesting about this is Susan, whoa, let me turn the phone off. Sorry, everybody. Susan also tours with us. She runs our merch department. People don't know this, that on tour you suffer from absolute boredom when you have long-ass drives, and so you better have somebody you can talk to about shit, because that's the best way to pass time is just have conversation. And I've learned a lot about, by the way, you're from Colorado, which is a green smoke weed state. But when you were working there were people that were in jail like for life, right? For weed.
For a really long time.
Yeah. And literally housed next to killers. Which is insane to me. It's just a big industry, right? The prison system, they have to keep them filled, right? Because it's a money-making thing, correct?
Yeah. I mean, it's also expensive to house them, especially maximum security inmates, because, you have to do everything for them, and you can't house them together, because if they're maximum security, they have no physical contact with any other inmates.
Well, I don't know if you get this in Denver, but I mean, there's a lot of communities where a lot of the homeless get arrested during the winter because it's about the best place you want to be, right? If it's a cold area, right?
Yeah.
That's why everybody migrates down to like Austin, Texas to be homeless or whatever, right?
Or Santa Monica.
You would think, but Denver has a very high population of homeless. I don't know why they would want to.
But Denver has a very high population of homeless people that are employed.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't
Somebody
know that.
Google that, like out there in the world. I'll Google it during our break, but I literally read something about, I was floored by this. I was like, really? What the hell? Yeah, just tough freaking times. But one of the things you told me that I died laughing about, I had no idea that this was like an issue. You said when you first started working there, they had meetings and everybody pretty much said, don't fuck the inmates.
When I was
Right.
So when I started, the training academy was a month long, and I lost count how many times they said, "Do not sleep with the inmates. Do not sleep."
Did
with
that
the
seem
inmates.
weird to you? Like, why would I want to sleep with
Absolutely.
an inmate?
Like
You know what I mean?
every time they said that, I'm like, why do they keep telling us this? Is it that
Right.
big of a problem? But I worked in corrections for almost 5 years, and 3 people that I personally worked with slept with inmates, and
Wow.
2 got caught. One quit before.
Were any of them
out, but-
females sleeping with
Yes.
males? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Really?
the first one, I don't think they were having sex because it was a maximum security prison. But she did up her makeup, her nails, like she got all prettied up to come to work in a prison, and that confused the hell out of me. But she quit, saying she got a better paying job as a secretary for a construction company or something, which I knew was BS.
Wow.
But come to find out, a couple months later, she sent in an application for marriage to marry
Wow.
this inmate that she apparently had a relationship with while she worked there.
And I was surprised. Inmates get married all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
To people, that's just crazy. That a lot of times it starts out as pen pals and things like that, right?
Yeah.
And then, which blew me away that a girl would just be like, I know he's doing life, but I'm going to marry him. It's like, how?
I
You
can't
know?
wrap my mind around it. But
Yeah, I can't either.
So I'm
at
sure
all.
a lot of the people listening would want to know: is it like Orange Is the New Black? Is that?
yeah, parts of it are very similar. I mean, it's a TV show, so
Right.
I mean, they're gonna dramatize stuff, but parts of it are completely
What parts?
legit. Like, so the second facility I worked in was a women's prison, and it was medium security. So they roomed together, and they had a lot of sex.
Really?
Yeah, it happens like way more than you would think.
If
So
you have
that part
access
is
and
definitely
time,
accurate.
yeah. If you have access and nothing but time,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I caught them all the time. Like hey. But yeah, it happens a lot.
Wow. Did you ever feel physically threatened? Was there ever a situation where you were like, man, I could get it right now?
There was one inmate in particular who
Not
was.
I did you ever feel like you'd be raped at any time by a woman? No. Did you ever feel like physically? Were you ever,
By the women,
or the man, anybody?
there was one inmate in particular who was a child molester, and he hated me. And I think he just hated women in general, but he threatened me all the time.
Really?
Yeah. So I didn't feel physically threatened in the sense that I thought he would stab me or something
Right.
like that, but feces bombs were very common.
Now explain this to the people that don't know. Explain what a feces.
I think they can figure that one out.
Bomb.
Yeah.
No, it's disturbing though. Like well, explain this.
Well, I mean, when you're in prison, you have a lot of time to think about stuff. And
Right, it's not
you
just
get-
lobbing shit.
No.
This is a totally
It's a
different thing.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maximum security inmates get little bottles of shampoo, soap, stuff like that. So they'll empty out these bottles and they'll shove as much feces and urine in it as they can. And then they don't get like Bic pens. Like if they want an ink pen, it's called a flex pen. It's basically just a plastic tube with the pen
Right.
in it. So they take the pen out, they make some sort of corking device for the bottle and shove this tube in the cork, and then they can then they put the tube through the crack in their door, and they smash the bottle, and feces and urine spray everywhere. So if they're pissed at somebody, they can literally shit bomb them. And
Did you ever get shit
no,
bombed?
but he was the only inmate that I felt like it could
The
happen.
shit bomb's coming.
Yeah.
At any moment.
And
shit bombed.
it was me and another officer that he would always threaten with that. And one of the reasons I quit corrections was because I didn't feel like my co-employees had my back. Like I felt like if something went down,
Yeah.
I was kind of on my own.
Really?
And one of the reasons I felt that way was because when he was threatening to shit bomb me, I wrote him up. I went to my superiors, and they were all just kind of like, well, he's never done it before. I mean, everybody does it a first time, right?
Right.
And 2 months, I think, after I left that facility and went to the women's prison, he shit bombed the other guy he had been threatening. So if I'd been there much longer, I'm sure he would have gotten me at some point. But that was the only time I felt like threatened at all. Like,
right. As far as physically threatened, or anything like that.
You know, outside of that, like, okay, so on the whole paranormal end of things, because this dawned on me. I don't know if I've ever known this. I'm sure you've probably asked Susan this at one time, but when you started coming to our events, I'm assuming you were interested in ghost stuff or something, right?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, not for the same reasons as most people, I think. I hear a lot of people like, oh, I got into the paranormal because I saw this, or I heard that, or I had this experience, or that experience.
It's a personal experience, right.
But for me, I have kind of an intense fear of death. And for me, it was seeking out something to relieve that fear. Because the thought of not existing, the physical act of dying doesn't really scare me. It's what comes after. The thought of not existing in any way, shape, or form anymore terrifies me. So I was kind of seeking some sort of answer to that, like whether there's something after death or not.
That's such an irrational fear. And I have it too. Because think about it, if you don't exist anyway, then you won't know. You won't feel anything. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
I know.
So it's a completely irrational fear, but I have that same fear. What terrifies me about death, right? It's not the dying, it's the not knowing, you know?
Or is it rational because of something you don't quite understand yet? Meaning, if you are an all-being creation that doesn't die or start with birth into this plane of existence, then it would be rational to think that you're going to end, right? Meaning if you do have a everlasting soul, right?
Right.
In that sense of things, it would be freakish to think it's going to end, right? I mean, if you were conscious of that somehow, without even knowing.
I think more than, I guess, more than terrified, maybe that's the wrong word. It's really overwhelmingly sad to me when I think about not existing. Like that just experiences everything.
Yeah.
You know, if I could, and it's not just all positive stuff. If I could no longer love somebody or be sad, you know what I mean? Or have a good day or a bad day or struggle or succeed, like all of those things, the nothingness just seems so fucking depressing. And that was a big part of my, in the beginning too, obviously beyond trying to kind of, you know, resolve in my mind what had occurred in my home as a child. But part of that was also that too, of like, I've said this before, I've never felt closer to whatever God is as to when I have experiences, like when things have gone down on investigations, where you just feel like there's something much greater than you that's at play.
When you stated because of the fear of death, that is probably a very common thing of the reasons why people are interested in this whole field, right? But it's rarely stated exactly like that, just blatantly because I fear death, you know? Just looking back at all the little situations, you remember like we had that old lady, her husband just died, show up to an event, she was upset because she wanted us to, she thought what we were going to be doing, I guess, was putting her in contact with her husband, like we were, you know? And she was wondering when that's going to happen or something. It was a really strange situation.
Like you were that Edwards guy or whatever?
Yeah.
Well, she was like 90-something years old, too. So she didn't spend much time studying what we were. She just heard a paranormal thing was coming.
And then we were shooting this project for, it was for Yahoo, where Steven Spielberg was an executive producer of, called The Rising. And we were shooting at Moundsville State Penitentiary, and one of the PAs we had was an older guy, and I guess his wife died, or
something
his
strange.
girlfriend?
Yeah, he was. What was his name? I forget. Anyway, see, it's not important to the story, I guess. I know where this is going.
And he's running. He just at one point, you know, we see something in the camera. We're not sure what it is, like one of the night vision cameras,
right in front of the Sugar Shack.
Right in front of the Sugar Shack, and he just flips out and he goes, What did he start screaming?
Well, this would happen. It started out with our audio guy Tim we were getting ready to shut down for the night, and he walked by and looked at the CCTV cameras, and he was like, whoa, we got something going on, you know? And so they called for me over the walkie, get up here and see if you've ever seen what this is. So yeah, so I'm like, I don't know, you know? And I'm like, I'm looking outside, and nothing's there. I look back, it's there, and I'm like, there's nothing but like, we could not figure out what this was. So we walk outside. And I'm standing out there, and like Tim's on the inside on it, and this gentleman's out there with us, and I'm yelling, you know, do you still see it? And he's just like, yeah. And I'm putting my hand in front of the camera, and it's still there. And it was moving around too. That's the weird thing. This light was moving around everywhere. And after we shine flashlights and all this stuff, and all of a sudden he just screams, I want to believe! And he takes off sprinting full speed down the stairs into the sugar shack and clotheslines the fuck out of himself on all the cables we had running. I just see literally his feet just go boom in the air. The first thing to hit the ground was the back of his fucking shoulders. I mean, he like decapitated himself. I was like, oh my God. And then in a few seconds he stands up, shakes it off. I want to believe! And takes off firing into the sugar shack. And this is because the main guy, Tom, that watched over the whole place.
That was his name, wasn't it, Tom?
No, Tom is who took our friend.
Right.
The main guy who watched over the place swore that he saw a black figure lean forward out of the sugar shack and look at him earlier in the day. So Tom was thinking, these lights are here, this thing must be down there. And he was chasing what he believed to be a ghost. What's funny is the sugar shack, it's like a maze, because it's like they set it up for Halloween. It's a maze for Halloween, right? He was so deep in there, he was screaming, and it was just this faint little voice, I want to believe. You'd hear like, so we're literally standing outside, and I remember Kent Abbott was like, so do we send someone in to get him? Who wants to go? And I was like, I'm fucking out, dude. I'm not going to get him. And yeah, he eventually came out. But yeah, his thing, he was the guy when we first got there. He came up and asked me. Now, when you're on these sets, especially that one, that was a big money kind of corporate type thing. Typically the production assistants wouldn't just walk up to a director in the middle of a shoot and just start asking questions about shit, right? I mean, on a lot of, it just wouldn't be protocol, right? He did this numerous times to me, and which I was cool with. I'm like, whatever. But that was his thing. Is he was just like, is this real, man? Is it real? And he just kept saying, is it real? And he kind of like looked at me like Larry David does, you know? And yeah, basically he was just really passionate about the fact that he really wanted to believe, and I do believe it was because he lost his wife, and he wanted to know if she was around.
His wife or a girlfriend, somebody pretty close to him.
Yeah.
And I don't think he did. And he almost seemed a little like nobody's that nice. So I almost thought he was either a slightly special needs somehow or whatever. Because I'm like, nobody's that nice.
He's nice.
Well, I mean, think about it. People that generally are like have some kind of, you know what I mean? They're like, hi, how are you? Whatever. They're just always
I'm like
extremely
that. I'm not
nice.
special needs.
Justin, this is getting worse and more you talk about it.
Okay. Here's the odd thing. We live in such a society today that is so scarred that you can't say anything about anything anymore without offending somebody.
I just understand what you mean. Like, special needs are nice?
Yeah, I would say overly nice. Okay, people with, like, for instance, Down syndrome. One of the big things if they shot a documentary was the fact that these kids are, like, the sweetest kids in the world. They're just, you know, and the odd part is normal kids are kind of shitty little brats sometimes, you know what I mean?
I've seen some special needs kids that are pretty big little assholes.
Yeah,
like,
especially in schools. Usually, like, Laura, well, I'm not going to speak for Laura, but, like, I know that they can be a serious pain in the ass, like in school, because they react very violently and emotionally to things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think I know what you're saying. Like, I've been around some children with Down syndrome that are very playful and very sweet. I think I know what you mean. But you thought that guy came off that way? I didn't think so at all.
He was just so nice all the time. He was driving us around, going, "Hey man, how are you? It's a great day today," and he was just always nice, really like, and very soft spoken like that.
Like, I think he's special needs.
I just,
what the fuck?
He's probably like
Here's these special needs. He's very nice.
He's probably a former professor at Pittsburgh University or something, you know, and just retired, and
funny.
Who knows.
God, that's funny. Well, listen, man, I wanted to do part of that to give a little introduction to who you are so people know a little bit about you. Not that holistically encompasses your whole being, but I just always thought, you know, being a female corrections officer would be one of the craziest fucking jobs ever, and it's something I think is really interesting about you. But when we come back from break, people are going to get to hear the all new, there is a new Justin, a new guardian of the rabbit hole. Susan is now, she has taken over Steve's post at the front of the rabbit hole. So Susan has done some research, so we will be silently judging you. And the topics that
Nothing new there.
Yeah, pretty much like on tour. You know? When you're gone, we'll talk about you behind your back. Pretty much like on tour.
Fully expected.
When we come back from break, we're going to find out what Susan finds interesting as she takes us down the rabbit hole. We will be back with more Paramerican Radio in just a minute. Peace.
Paramerican Radio will be right back after this commercial break with even more dope-ass shit.
It's such a real-life spin on those paranormal activities, on everything that's being Hollywood about, you know, ghosts and oddities now. This is going right into the facts. That's the great thing about how Chad does it. He kind of lays out everything, all the evidence he finds, and he researches. You have like this historical part, this evidence part. It's almost like a CSI, and you go in there, and he lays out everything, and he goes, what do you think? And it is mind-blowing and very scary. And if you hear him, when he starts to tell his story, when he first came in here, he said, listen, I was an atheist. He's telling you, like, came from your side, or didn't believe at all. So you're not getting...
There's no agenda.
There's nothing.
Out there.
Our next guest is one of the most notable figures in the world of paranormal investigation. Chad Calek has toured the world to speak at colleges and investigate hauntings.
Out there.
Quite a few years ago, we met Chad Calek. Now, here's the deal. Chad has been all over the world, investigating and looking for the paranormal and documenting it. He is the greatest paranormal documentary filmmaker there is. I'm telling you right now. Some of the movies that I've seen Chad make, it's unbelievable. Some of the movies that I've seen Chad make, I mean, it'll scare the pants off.
Out there.
I'm a registered nurse, and I believe in science. I'm so happy that tonight we had proof that there is something else out there. I believe what I saw was real.
He perfectly said everything that I was thinking and feeling.
This guy, amazing. It was really terrifying. Really terrifying. I've never seen anything like that. Really terrifying.
Out there.
This is by far the creepiest thing that we have ever seen.
And I've never seen nothing like it before in my life.
Never seen anything like that before. Film.
Never seen anything like that before.
This is not like anything I've seen.
I've never seen anything like that.
Words can't describe what you saw.
Never seen anything like that.
Never seen anything like that before.
This is not like anything.
Words can't describe what you saw.
Everybody out.
I was skeptical at first, and then literally I could feel when my heart started beating again. But I loved it and highly recommend it. It was amazing.
I loved it. It was presented by a very charismatic man.
I was totally enthralled with the Q&A that was given by Chad.
When it was all said and done, I had chills. It was surreal.
Very surreal. Absolutely amazing. I loved the open questions as well. I got a lot of questions answered. So I would definitely recommend this to anybody.
Mind blowing. If you're not a believer, you still will be.
Finally like seeing somebody's documenting. Some real stuff. Guy was relentless.
My heart dropped. It was unbelievable. I knew it was going to be good, but I did not expect it to be that good.
I trust Chad. First time I saw him, I said, I like that guy. That's why we're here tonight.
Really intense. It's going to blow you away, so it's definitely worth coming out and seeing.
This is going to be an unbelievable experience.
He has a unique way of telling stories on stage. All the curtains are dropped. You know, the mask is pulled off. It's powerful. I mean, it's like he just sort of lets you walk into his world.
And we are back with more Paramerican Radio. It is that time to discover what the mind of Suku Kachu thinks is weird, wild, and bizarre. Tell me what's going on in the world. What stories do you have for us to discuss?
Okay, so the first one kind of correlates with what we were talking about earlier about fear of not existing anymore. There is a gentleman in Romania who in 1992 went to Turkey to work. He came back to Romania in 1995 to find out his wife had been cheating on him. So in 1999, he went back to Turkey for good. And this January, he was deported back to Romania because of expired papers or something. When he gets back to the airport in Romania, the border officials hold him for 6 hours because his wife in 2016 had declared him dead. And so they hold him for 6 hours, question him about his hometown, like where the courthouse is.
Right.
They took fingerprints. They measured the distance between his eyes to compare it with an old passport photo. And finally, after 6 hours, declared, okay, you are who you say you are. So he gets home, and the officials there don't buy it. And so he files to have the death certificate overturned. And they denied, they won't overturn it, basically because he filed too late. That is the
So in
reason.
that country, he's technically dead.
He has no means of making money because he technically doesn't exist. He can't go back to Turkey because he's banned from returning to Turkey for life.
Wow.
So he has health issues. He's 63 years old now. He wants to file another suit, but doesn't have any money and can't make any because he's dead, technically.
Wow.
So he's kind of, I guess, in limbo.
You just got to find a pro bono attorney to take that on. I would think that would be. But the weird thing is, if you can't pay him, you can't pay him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or just sell drugs, you know?
You can do that, yeah.
People buying drugs that don't care if you're alive. Or
Right. This is true.
Well, technically, you couldn't be arrested for shit. So, you know, go sell a bunch of drugs. You're like, you're arrested. Who is?
Right.
I'm dead.
Right.
You know what I mean? I would start fucking with that. You know what I mean? I would totally start fucking with that.
I was thinking about that earlier. Like, you have to look for a silver lining. Like, if he goes to get medical care, how do they bill him? He doesn't exist.
Right.
I don't have to pay for that. I don't exist. I'm not alive.
I would take that all the way. I mean, like, if I was fucked over by that, I would totally be trying to fuck back. I mean, that's weird as hell.
He doesn't know if he's divorced, if his wife is married to someone else. She lives in Italy now or something. Yeah.
So why did she file that he was dead? Did she think he was, or was it malicious?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, I don't know if she was just like, well, I haven't seen him in a while. I guess, you know, I'll just declare him dead. I have no idea. It didn't say in the article.
Is there something that, you know, I don't know. There's multiple things. First of all, is there some kind of a thing about getting remarried where if you, were they married prior?
Yes.
And they got a divorce?
No.
Oh, so maybe you can't remarry or whatever in that area unless somebody's technically legally dead or what, right? So,
but how do you just go somewhere and declare someone dead without any proof? Can you really just go somewhere to the courthouse or whatever and say, hey, I need a death certificate for my husband because I haven't seen him in a while, so I guess he's dead. Like, she had no proof, obviously, because he wasn't dead. So...
Yeah, it's bizarre as shit. There's going to be loopholes in the law there for that. It's just weird. It's even weird that someone else could declare it without any other person, like, being a witness to it or something. You know what I mean? Because you would think that people would have tried that before if that was the case.
What was this undead person's name in Romania? Was it Dracula?
It was no, it was like Constantine Berlou or something. I didn't say his name because I probably butcher it, but Constantine Relou or something like that. Yeah.
Constantine.
That is fucking really, really interesting. Cool. No, that's... I don't know what else to say about it except it's whack as shit. Yeah. But I would be totally messing around with people. I'd be stealing shit. I'd be doing all kinds of stuff. I mean... I guess the weird thing is, okay, so if he's dead, God, no, he can't do shit, can he? He can't rent a car, like nothing. Yeah,
Can't do anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, the only way to overturn it would be a pro bono attorney, somebody who just went to... But what's stupid about it is if he's there, like you said, the one place...
the border officials, after 6 hours, were satisfied.
He's him, right.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't the other place, why would they not be satisfied?
I don't know.
It seems like there's more to the story somewhere that's weird between him and his wife.
Yeah.
Because it seems like they have a reason to say he's dead.
Even if you don't technically exist, though, you can sell drugs. You can sell your body for sex. You can mow lawns for $50 a pop. You could do a lot.
You can't cash a check anywhere. Hopefully, everybody pays you in cash or Bitcoin.
If you already had a digital currency, you could buy Bitcoin. It's just getting into it. You know what I mean? Bitcoin doesn't care if you're technically dead or not.
You can definitely spend Bitcoin if you're dead. That's true. Right. Really cool. That's an interesting story. Cool. What else you got? What's the next one?
So the next one comes from Colorado, which is where I'm from. So a 22-year-old guy was arrested in January, I believe it was, January or February, for murder. Apparently, a 19-year-old girl put an ad on Craigslist. He was seeking the women seeking men section. And this ad caught his attention because the headline was, I want to put a hit on myself. So he answered this ad thinking, this is his story. He says because he deals with depression and thought maybe he could talk her out of suicide. And so they exchange text messages. He picks her up later on that day. He says he can't talk her out of suicide. So they stop on the side of the road somewhere in a wooded area. They kneel down together, say a prayer. And she says she wants to be shot in the head, execution style, so she doesn't see the gun. And he shoots her in the back of the head.
Jesus.
Takes her purse and the gun, which was her boyfriend's, and she said he could have it as payment. So he takes the gun and her purse and takes off, and her body's found the next day. The police haven't verified whether that Craigslist ad ever existed or not. And there must be a way to find out if that ad was on Craigslist.
Yeah, easily.
But they won't say whether it existed or not. And they still, several months later, haven't confirmed whether that was actually an ad on Craigslist or not.
It's a really weird story to make up if he didn't do that.
Right.
Why would your imagination, or would you go to the place that this person posted? If you just robbed this person, and they said what happened, well, she'd put a hit on herself, you see, on Craigslist, and I was just trying to help, but then. The odd part is I couldn't talk her out of it, so I shot her.
Right. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Did they say why she wanted to put a hit on herself?
She has a history. She has a history of suicidal thoughts, but she also was in a good place, from what her family says. She was applying for jobs the day before she disappeared. She was. I did find out just right before we came back on, actually, that she had what could have been a potential dose of heroin in her system when she died. She has a history of meth and heroin addiction.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if she was high when she posted that. He picked her up the same day he answered the ad. So, but again, like you said, can't talk her out of it.
Yeah, I can't figure out who's crazier.
Why shoot her?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
the obvious thing to think is the guy's obviously either a dipshit or whatever. Why would you kill a 19-year-old girl because she wanted you to, right? Mm-hmm. The only thing I said earlier when you told me this was I stopped short of saying he is because I don't know what happened in the conversation exactly, right? Mm-hmm. And this sounds weird, but do you know how the monks will set themselves on fire or whatever, right? Now, why would you do that just out of protest if you didn't understand somehow that there is something greater than just your existence right now on this plane, right? That something goes way beyond that.
Right.
And what if she had, almost like you've seen the OR or OA or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. You know how that's kind of like, whoa, I did not see any of this coming.
Right.
What if there was something like that, you know? Who knows? I would doubt it, but who knows? It'd be interesting to know what that conversation was.
What if they showed up and she was like, you know, there's a nuclear bomb planted in the middle of the city, and unless you shoot me in the back of the head, I'm going to set this off. Kill millions of people. See? I'm just saying, you don't know what happened.
Yeah.
There's always, I could spend anything.
I just got to leave it open because we, on this podcast, deal with a lot of the unexplained and unknown and crazy conspiracy things. So, again, you know, who knows?
What if she was like, right now, there's someone at your mom's house with a gun to her head. All I got to do is give the call. And she was like, if you want it to stop, you got to shoot me in the back of the head.
Yeah, that would be another
That'd be another one of those twists. It's just a weird fucking story. Like, why? When I hear stuff like this, it's depressing because it's like the world is that fucked up that people are putting ads out on Craigslist going, hey, I want someone to come cat me in the back of the head. And this cocksucker acts chivalrous at first just to blow her head off. It's terrifying. Let's move on to a third one. Hopefully it's a happier one.
It's,
Maybe not.
So there's a bar or saloon in a remote part of Canada, like in the Yukon. It's called the Sourdough Saloon, and they serve what's called a sour toe cocktail. And this is a cocktail you can order with a mummified toe in it.
Hey.
And
of a human.
Yes. They like an example of this is
what the fuck?
A guy who there's a race or something that happens in the Yukon Territory in Canada, and there was a guy this past winter who it got so cold that he got severe frostbite and lost 3 of his toes. So he was trying to figure out what to do with these toes, so he donated them to the Sourdough Saloon for these sour toe cocktails. And they keep them in formaldehyde, basically. And when someone orders the cocktail, they put one of these toes in it. And the only rule is you can't swallow it, you can't, consume it, but your lips have to touch the toe in order to get like the special certificate.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So you can drink toes in Canada, apparently.
That's the most fucking whack thing I've ever heard. Who would want to? Like, that's so strange. That's kind of like,
There's got to be a login site in the United States. I bet you they couldn't do that here. I bet you they couldn't.
When you were researching the story, were there pictures of the drink?
There were pictures of the toe, yeah.
Oh, Jesus. I gotta find it and cut it.
And they only last so long, obviously, but they do reuse them. But once they're rotten or whatever, I don't know what they do with them, didn't say. But so they get donations of
toes all the time.
Yeah.
That is fucking disturbing.
When they become rotten, they sell it to Rotten Toe Whiskey. The best rotten toes.
The only rule is your lips gotta touch it. You imagine someone drinks it and it's like, that didn't count. Your lips didn't touch that fucking toe. I saw it, Wow, that is a whack. That might win the award for the weirdest story we've ever heard on this show. This place, so they regularly just receive donations of chopped off, lopped off.
I don't know
toes.
how regular the donations come, but they I mean that's how they have the toes for these cocktails. Apparently they're not hurting for toes because you can go in there and order one at any point. But
the bulk of it's got to come from deceased people, right? I mean, nobody's. I mean, the mafia.
I mean, it's the Yukon
might,
territory. People probably lose toes all the time to frostbite.
I can get you a toe. Believe me. There are ways, dude. You don't want to know about it, believe me.
Yeah, but Walter.
Hell, I can get you a toe by 3 o'clock this afternoon with nail polish. It's fucking amateurs.
Walter.
Fucking amateurs. Name that movie. Big Lebowski.
Oh, yeah.
I get a toe for you. Yeah. That's fucking crazy. I don't even know how to respond to that. That's fucking weird.
Yeah, what can you say? I just thought
it's a great story. No, I don't.
Weird story.
I don't have anything to say to that other than touche. That I'm fucking stumped.
Would you drink a sour toe cocktail?
Fuck no, for no reason. Not for cash, not for. That's disturbing, dude. See, I have a weird thing though with like eating stuff, like when like gross foods, like Fear Factor.
Yeah.
Or even every time they, like on Survivor.
Don't even like watching those shows.
Yeah,
man.
when they get to like, you know why Fear Factor was canceled? There was on Joe Rogan on the last show, right?
No.
You can go watch this online. They did, and I mean a fucking mug, like a mug. And one of them was donkey semen and then donkey urine, in which these two sisters took on the challenge and completed it. Like the one sister, like just chugging. I mean, a mug of donkey semen. And even if you could search this up there, Rogan talks about it. He was just like, yeah, he goes, I was even, before we even did, I was like, guys, too much. What are we doing?
And this is what we'll be serving: donkey semen.
Oh my God.
And urine.
Oh my God.
Go. Look at her go.
You're burping it
Just
up.
for the
You're
girls,
burping it
just
up.
for the girls.
Oh, you can't do it. You can't do it.
Bryn's almost done.
Just walk right now.
Done. Bryn's done. Bryn's done. It's all on you, Claire. Come on.
Finish it. Get over with.
Claire, you are a savage. Congratulations. Wow. God. Oh, that was the hardest thing I ever had to watch.
Can I
Listen.
puke
The network ended up chopping this episode, and then it came out what they did, and that ended up ending the first round of it.
Because of the semen part?
Because they were just going too far with it. Yeah, and these girls.
But I'm sure what was too far, because like eating bugs is okay, eating crap is okay, but eating semen, was it the sexual connotation?
Yeah, I think that's too far. I think drinking like whatever pig's blood or like eating an eyeball, like shit like that is gross. Drinking a mug of fucking donkey cum, that's like getting really out there. You know what I mean? What's next? You just fuck the donkey? Like it's just, you know what I mean? It's just bizarre.
How much money would you have to get paid to drink?
That's what I'm saying.
Semen? Didn't they only pay like 10 grand or something?
It wasn't
to the
even
winner?
that. Yeah, it was less than that. It was like dick. Like you don't get to do those shows. Yeah, you don't. Actually, those shows you don't get paid anything unless you win because you're playing for a cash prize.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Even the winner, they didn't get a lot, right?
Well, what's funny is that round, because it was a multiple round thing, they didn't win either.
Oh man,
that was something too. So they drank all
so
that
all for nothing.
Yeah, one sister drank. And when I tell you this is a big mug, this was not like a shot of it. This was.
Are we talking like 20 ounces?
Oh yeah,
or
easily.
bigger?
Oh, a big like beer mug, just fucking jacked full of and there's just all kinds of shit in it. Yeah, it's online. You can, they came out. Horrible shit, but that's the thing. Like when I watch Survivor, and Jeff's always like, you gotta eat this bug. And they open up, it's this crawling maggot. Like I'm out. Like I can't do any of that shit. I throw up. Like when I like cottage cheese, I can't. If I even get a whiff of it, I'm just like, whoa, keep that away from me. Like I can't. Sour cream's the same way. If I even eat a sour cream chip, I'm vomiting on the spot. Yeah, it's just so gnarly to me.
Is it a taste or texture thing?
It's a taste thing. I know what you mean by texture, though. There's some weird shit. Cottage cheese is taste and texture.
Right.
Both of it's like, this is fucking gnarly. But, like, for example, I don't like fish. But I don't hate it. It's not going to make me puke. But, like, an oyster... I'm puking. You know what I mean? When that fishy smell meets that taste, if you feel like you're just sucking on my brain or something, it's just gross. Yeah. I can't do the weird food shit, man. No way.
I can get you a toe.
That's what I'm saying. That toe gets near me, I'm puking. Yeah, on. If someone just went like this and showed it to me, I'm vomiting. Seriously, I'd be like, the toe? Oh, God. Yeah.
Even better is that my man Philip Seymour Hoffman, he would go, "This is our concern, dude."
That is a toe. This is our concern. Well, the thing was, I'm trying to imagine if someone gave it to you, and like if someone gave me that and I didn't know it. And I'm like, what is that? Looking around, the moment I discover it's a toe, split second projectile vomit, guaranteed. Yeah. Think how scary that would be if you were like, that is a fucking toe in my drink? That's terrible.
You have college students in Mexico drinking in that environment. You could have a head in that whiskey and they will drink it. There's no thought, you know?
Yeah, college is pretty brutal. Yeah, definitely. That's. Well, the worm thing is gross to me too. You know, the bottle. That's gross to me. There's people eat the worm too, and I guess when you eat the worm, you get really fucked up because the worm absorbs like pure alcohol. Yeah. So when you swallow it, you get like whack.
I remember that was such a strange thing. I went down there on the whole college spring break, and one of the other things we do is there's a guy would walk around with this big battery belt, and he had a little crank.
Exactly. I've done it. It'd shock you.
Yeah. And he'd hand out 2 like receptors, and people would hold hands. So there's this whole group of people. You know, everybody was doing it, right?
South Padre, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whole bunch of people holding hands from Nebraska, right? The 2 people at the end grab the things, and he's going like this, and somebody says, "Crank it," and he goes, "Oh," and the girl in the middle goes, "Ah," and starts biting the guy's arm next to her because she can't let go, right? Because it clenches your muscles where you're like, "Ah." And she started gnawing in the guy's freaking arm.
That shit is so rewarding to me to watch. I have an unhealthy infatuation. I love it. If I could spend 5 hours a day watching tasing videos, I would. I just love to watch a smart-ass motherfucker just get planked. I don't know. The tasers, those videos are so fun to watch.
I never thought of that. I don't think I've ever seen them.
Oh, dude, if you watch one, you won't stop. They're so fun. Like, dudes get out of cars like, oh, you know, like, Cal be like, I need to back up right now. Oh, fuck yeah. Dude,
the thing
they just plank and just fall to the ground. It's so fun to watch.
I got stuck watching when comedians are getting what is it when they're getting people are making fun of them in the crowd,
heckling.
Yeah, the comebacks of some of these comedians, man, are epic. And it's awesome.
Watch the movie Heckler, the documentary that Jamie Kennedy made. It's all about, there's, I guess, in the world of this, there are legendary moments that all comedians know of. Right down to this one moment where a guy was playing a guitar and this heckler's in the front row was like talking shit to him. He's like, that's fine, man. Come here, dude. And the guy walks up to him and he shatters this guitar over his head.
No, really, don't mess with me, because I don't come down to the bus station and slap the dick out of your mouth when you're working, do I? Oh, get on up here, motherfucker. Security. I'm sorry, man. The guy fucking came at me. What do you think, folks?
No way.
Okay, sure.
There's and these are legendary moments they all know of. And like, oh, remember when so-and-so did this and they know of it? And they showed that racist rant that the dude from Seinfeld went off on. Did you ever see this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the guy who plays Kramer?
Yes, went bongo racist on everybody in the room. There's all kinds of legends.
No, he wasn't on everybody in the room. It was just the guy in the top balcony or whatever.
But what I mean is everybody's witnessing.
Yeah, it was a black guy in the top balcony.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what you start realizing, you don't even have to be mean to be a heckler.
Please don't defend him. Please don't defend him.
It's not about. I'm not defending him. I'm giving an explanation of what happened, though. But you can't even give an explanation of what happened. People go, no, the devil.
Well,
absolute devil.
I know what happened. It was just incredibly racist. Well, what happened was incredibly racist.
Yeah, I think the big thing is for sure. I'm not saying it wasn't.
Okay.
And even Kramer or whatever his name is in real life. I can't think of his real name. Michael
Richards.
Yeah, even he obviously has been saying over and over that it's more so when you catch somebody in that thing, it's very revealing for a person to stand on stage and try to connect with an audience because you're very vulnerable. I've seen comedians who aren't that funny, and it's destroying. I've talked to people that were trying to do this, and it's just the biggest gut punch when people aren't laughing and people start booing or whatever. You just, it makes you question everything about everything, right? And then you're gonna get a lot of people get angry, and there's obviously a reason all these people will get angry when they're getting heckled, or even. People don't even have to be mean. They can just be say a joke out loud or whatever, and they're trying to do your job, and you're getting paid for it. It's kind of like this. Don't you feel like when we do our events, if somebody's sitting there talking the whole time loud in the front, don't you at some point, and I don't ever really remember this happening just because especially this last room was so big that you're far enough away that it wouldn't even really bother you, but what it bothers me when I'm trying to talk and people in the audience are sitting there going, and you just want to literally go, hey, I'm sorry. Why are you? I'm trying to give a speech about something here. Why are you talking?
See, I have a different train of thought on that. My thing is, if those people are talking like that, and that's never occurred at a show I've done where people have been talking over me. There was one drunk girl one time in Texas with King Fuller that was asked to leave.
Right. Well, in that situation, was it annoying?
Well, sure, but I wouldn't fucking go,
ultra
fucking over the top insane at her. You know what I mean? Whether it was racist or not, or sexist or anything, I'd do what we did, leave. You know? But I think if the room's talking over you, you're probably doing something wrong on stage. I mean, you should be commanding an audience. That's what they call it, commanding an audience, right? If they're all fucking running their mouth over you, A, you either shouldn't be there because your product's not that good, or B, you're not doing your job. In that situation with Kramer and that whole thing, there's more to the story in the sense that he was struggling personally in his life at that time, too. He had a lot of really weird shit going on.
Do you remember what he said specifically?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to say it because I just don't like saying the N-word.
Right.
But he just kept repeating and yelling, "Look, everybody, there's a," and he kept doing it over and over, super loud, and he's a nigger! He's a nigger!
Oh my God.
A nigger! Look, there's a nigger!
Sometimes it's almost like this whole Me Too thing and whatever. This all came out. I was talking to a lady who runs Omaha comedy, the Funny Bone, and she knows all these comedians very well, right? And she was really on Louis C.K.'s side, and because it was
Louis
more so
C.K.'s side of what?
Well, she was saying it's one thing about what Miramax Harvey Weinstein did, right? There's some brutally abusive crap you can pull.
Yeah, but Louis did the same shit.
No,
Louis
did not.
admitted he did the same shit and publicly apologized for it. Yes, without question.
No, asking somebody to come in there and then basically raping him and stuff is one thing.
No, Louis didn't rape them. But
no, not Louis.
No,
Louis, all he. Okay, there's two things here, and Dave Chappelle hit it right on the head when he did his stand-up. His whole thing was like going, the thing is though, a lot of these people, they're comedians and whatever, they were Louis C.K. knew, and he did this a while back. Most of this that these women that brought out. He asked them for consent, like, "Hey, do you want to watch me?" I mean, it's very weird. They would always, but he said, "Listen, if that hurts you, if that abuses you." Maybe you're a little brittle for this business. If that destroyed you getting in this business.
But that's not what happened. I mean, Louis C.K. even came out and apologized because he used his status and position to basically put these women in a situation where he knew they were going to say yes. Because there was status and power over them in that case. That's what he publicly apologized and acknowledged and confessed for.
I shouldn't say that this is something you should do. I'm not
saying should. I'm just saying.
I'm saying the reason him and Harvey Weinstein were not the same case.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
But that's like saying someone who kills 300 people isn't the same as someone who kills 2. You're a fucking killer. Unlike a lot of these guys, he was right away, came out and was like, yes, I have done this. Yeah. I need to think about my life, my family, where I'm at, what the fuck's wrong with me.
But he got consent, right?
Right.
Like,
he asked them if they could do it, and they said yeah, or whatever, if they stuck around.
Right.
And so the big thing is you could just get up and leave.
But a lot of girls also gave Weinstein consent.
But how is that? I don't understand how that's not on her then.
I'm not saying that there isn't even shared thing in it, but it's kind of like this. If I'm in a position of power and I know I could use it against you, and I know I can,
As in, if you don't let me do this, you're going to lose your job or something like that? Is that what you mean?
Sure. And believe me, I'm not like fully on the Me Too side because I was one of the first person to say, hey, listen, no one's talking about the fact that in this industry, there are women that throw that shit around left and right to get where they're going to. So there's another side of this no one's talking about, right? But I do think it's wrong when you know someone's coming up, you know they're vulnerable, and you know that you could, just because, I guess my point is, just because someone gives consent doesn't mean it's something they would have done. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like entrapment.
Then they should have said no.
I mean? Right. Yeah, and you know what? There's a lot of girls that are strong enough for that, and there's a lot that aren't. And just because you can get a weak person to say yes to something doesn't mean it's right. And I think that's where Louis C.K. was kind of at with the whole thing, is that he was on the strip of touring comedians. He's a legend, and there were younger female comedians that were coming up. and also people he worked with, that according to him, I wasn't there, I don't know the fucking guy, right? But this is just according to him, where he said he used his power and status to pressure women into sexual situations that wouldn't have otherwise happened on their own.
Well, you know, I thought Seinfeld said it perfectly during an interview. He almost felt like somebody was coming at him, this female reporter chick that was an interviewer, and she was like going, "So you know Louis C.K.?" And he was almost feel like, "Are you coming at me because I know Louis C.K.?"
Yeah.
Or what? And he's like, "Yeah, I do." She goes, "And have you seen things like this when you're in the business?" And he goes, "Have I seen sexual attraction between men and women?" Well, we know men and women are sexually attracted to each other, right? And there are things that happen between men and women, correct? And she's just not responding. He goes, "Correct?" And she's like, "Yes." "Okay." And he's almost getting like the point, like going, listen, you could tell he was pissed off about the idea that, listen, what is going on? Everybody knows men and women have been screwing around for years. We make babies, right? Right? People, this happens? Yes? Okay. But obviously, those things get misconstrued between, there isn't a part where it gets abusive. But, you know, it's people just lump some things in together. They say, okay, this person raped somebody, and this person asked this person to jerk off in front of them. We're going, not the same thing. Not the same thing at all.
No, it's not the same thing, but you can't also just say that the only form of abuse is physical. It's not. I mean, that's not at all. You can I mean, before you get to the physical, typically there's mental abuse. And that's usually what massages in the physical abuse. You know, there's a lot of girls who said yes to Weinstein and didn't want to touch him, but they were pressured into doing it. They didn't want their fucking career to go south. They were worried. They weren't strong enough to handle it, and taking advantage of weaker people is wrong too.
Do you think there are women in power that do the same thing
sure.
to men? Do you think it's
100%.
as common?
What you mean for sex?
I don't think it's as common, but I absolutely believe. I know it happens. I know it happens where women are like, I'm in a power position and I'm going to get what I want.
But it's not viewed the same way. Everybody always think about this. There's this hot teacher who sleeps with one of her high school students, and it's like, oh, that was very abusive to that student, and all the guys are laughing, going, no, it wasn't. That'd be awesome, you know. I mean, that's
society. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, right.
Because men, for various reasons, are not. She can't overpower him. First of all, physically, right?
Not necessarily.
I don't think it's that. I think it's a combination of all. I think it's more societal than it is physical. Men have the cards stacked in their favor in society. Women have the cards stacked against them in society. So that's why it's viewed as worse, because it is worse. You know what I mean? It's overbearing. When a woman does it, there is a degree of power she's taking back, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. I mean, that's flipping the cards. Mm-hmm. You know, it doesn't mean it's right, but that's taking some shit back. You know, being, you know, a 40-year-old white Anglo-Saxon male, like, we're everyone's asshole. You know what I mean? We have no crutch. You know, there's nothing we could say about shit. You know, so I think it is worse when someone who has all the cards. It's like the casino, right? It's like betting on the casino. You know, no one's gonna root for the casino. You know,
wow.
But if if you flip the cards, you know what I mean. So
well, part of it is the fact testosterone, man, and when you said in the prison that the raped kids or something like that, everybody just kind of obviously knows that's going to be a guy. There's not going to be in the women in the prison, generally, anyway, commonly. How often is there a female serial killer or a...
Very rare.
Yeah.
Most of the time when there's a female shooter, too, there's a man with her. Like, they do it as a couple
style,
or...
Right? Yeah. Whack. When are you going to start shooting up some shit?
Test me. We'll find out.
And with that, let's wrap it up. Good stuff. If you're out there in the world, don't shoot anybody, okay? Like, guns are bad. They always say, guns don't kill people, bullets are bullshit. People kill people, you know? People kill people. People that hold guns kill people. Just something to think about. All right, awesome. We will be back next time with some more Paramerican Radio. Until then, I gotta say new names. Until then, Justin and Susan, say goodbye. Peace.
See ya.
Peace.
Paramerican Radio.